He was shot late this evening in front of his apartment building in New York City. Apparently, he was killed almost immediately. The man who shot John Lennon walked up to the musician as he was leaving his limousine. According to eyewitnesses, he said, "Mr. Lennon," and then fired at him point blank at least 5 times. Standing by now in New York with more details is ABC's Lynn Scher.
John Lennon was murdered on his way home, just outside the celebrated Manhattan apartment house, the Dakota, where he lived with his wife, Yoko Ono, and a 5-year-old son. Apparently, he stepped out of the limousine and headed through the gates towards the vestibule when a man emerged and fired 7 times. According to police sources, the man had been seen at the apartment house earlier, and later in the evening when Lennon arrived, the man appeared to be rational. He called out Lennon's name, then crouched police style and fired.
The 4 cops pulled John Lennon out and put him into the back of a police car, and he was bleeding from his mouth, and it was a terrible sight.
John Lennon's body was immediately rushed in a police car here to Roosevelt Hospital, just 13 blocks away from his apartment in Upper Manhattan. He was dead on arrival. They tried resuscitation and they tried transfusions, but nothing worked.
How many times?
He had multiple gunshot wounds in his chest, in his left arm, and in his back.
How many shots are we talking about?
There were 7 wounds in his body.
7
Yes.
bullets?
I don't know exactly how many bullets there were. There were 7 wounds.
How extensive was the damage, Doctor?
There was a significant injury of the major vessels inside the chest, which caused a massive amount of blood loss, which probably resulted in his death.
Did he lose consciousness right away, do you
Dr.
think?
Lynn also
I'm
said that
certain
as
that
far
he
as he
was
could
dead
tell,
at the
Lennon
moment
died
that
with the first shot.
shots hit his body.
But that didn't stop a number of Lennon's fans from gathering at the hospital and at his apartment house to pray and to remember. Lynn Scher, ABC News, New York.
John Lennon was shot at a well-known New York apartment building, the Dakota House on West 72nd Street, and ABC's Rita Sands is standing by live at the Dakota now. Rita, what have you been able to learn since the shooting? Rita Sands, can you hear me?
No, you're on.
Rita?
Ted, what we know about the suspect at this time is, first of all, his identity, 25-year-old Mark David Chapman. He comes from Hawaii. Police tell me he's been in the New York area about a week and began to hang around the Dakota apartment over the weekend asking about John Lennon. He apparently ran into him for the first time this evening about 5 o'clock, asking Lennon for his autograph. Lennon gave it to him on the jacket cover of a record. Lennon went off to a recording session, and we are told that Chapman remained at the hotel until Mr. Lennon returned about 11 o'clock this evening. Police officials describe what happened this way. They say that Chapman came up from behind, yelled out Mr. Lennon's name, and emptied a .38 revolver. There were at least 5 shots spent. There were 7 gunshot wounds, 3 considering both entrance and exit wounds. The worst damage came from the chest wounds. Lennon shouted that, "I know I've been shot." He stumbled up several steps into the Dakota and collapsed inside in an office area and was taken immediately to Roosevelt Hospital, where we are told he was dead on arrival. There is very little known about 25-year-old Chapman, only that he's been staying at a local Y for several days and then at another hotel in the last day or two. He has been taken to the 20th Police Precinct, fingerprinted. They're checking for prior arrest records. Also, for any motive, they don't have any yet. They've charged him officially with murder, but the reason for this attack, unknown. Ted?
Thank you, Rita Sands.